Hi, this is Simon back in Reaktor today, and I want to throw together just a simple little delay macro. I'm going to start from scratch here. Once again, the goal is if we work with a really simple synthesizer, it makes it easier for us to focus on the topic at hand. Okay, Command N, new, delete my inputs. Let's make a sawtooth oscillator. I suppose I can run this out to my outputs. No pitch MIDI in. Gate MIDI in. Let's just add a AR envelope. I'm not even going to change the A and the R here. I'm just going to use the defaults. All right, let's give this a try. All right, that sounds like it's working. So now let's make a new macro, and we'll call this macro delay. Okay, go inside, in, out. Since I always forget, let's wire it up. Ink, bonk. Okay, now inside, what we're going to want, built-in module, is a single delay. Into the in, out to the out, and in the delay, let's create a control. Okay, now let's see what happens when I play something. Hitting a key, hitting a key, hit a key, hit a key. Okay, so all we've done is taken that audio that's coming in and delayed it by how much? Well, in this case, 500. 500 of what? 500 milliseconds. Okay. This is not exactly what we have in mind when we add delays as musicians. So let's make this a little bit better. Built-in module, signal path, amp mixer. Run this input to there. Run this one to here. Again, holding down Command while I drag to make those new inputs. Create control, and we'll call this one dry because that's our unaffected signal. We'll call this one wet because that is our affected signal. Go up, clean up our panel. Wet, dry. Okay, let's play something. Does this behavior make sense, right? We go through the input, we have the dry going directly there, and then we have this go into the delay, get delayed by the delay time, and then mix back in at the level of wet. Okay, this is pretty good, but what we usually do when we have a delay is we have an option to feed that signal back. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an add here. And this add is basically going to work like a mixer. It's going to work like a combiner. So I'm going to take the output, what's ever coming out, and I'm going to add that into the input signal. All right, so it's a little hard to see, but this goes out and back in. It gets combined with that input, which gets sent into the input of the delay. Now, this will be weird, but let's check this out. Now, this is going to feed back forever, because it's always coming back in at the level that it comes out. So if you ever play with a delay unit, it usually has a control for feedback. Let's unhook this wire. So now let's go built-in module. Actually, we'll do it this way. We'll add a multiply. This is under built-in module math. So once again, I'm going to take this signal, I'm going to multiply it by a control. We'll call this control feed back. And then we'll run this into here. And now let's clean up our panel and have a look at that feedback knob. So right now the feedback is at 1. So this will still feedback forever because any number times 1 is that number that came in. So if I want this to fade away, I'm going to have to turn it down. So each time it comes quieter and quieter until it eventually goes away. Let's make this our delay time a little bit shorter here. So already this is sounding pretty great. We could call this a functioning delay, but let's take this a step further. So one thing that I can do is I could add a filter. Let's not do it that way, sorry. Let's do it this way. Built-in module, filter, high pass, low pass, one pole. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this out to here. I'm going to now run out the low pass to here. Run out this low pass to the feedback. And then we'll make a control here. And rather than P cutoff, we'll call this low pass. Okay, let's clean up our panel. So now what's going to happen is I have a filter that allows me to control both the low pass that goes to the output here and also the one that feeds back. So now every time we go through this loop, we're going to lose more and more of those high frequencies. So my low pass is set at 70, note number 70 at the moment. It's pretty muffled. And of course, if I were to dial back this wet a little bit, make my delay short, maybe that's even a bit too much feedback. I can almost get reverb-like effects here. Okay, I might regret this, but let's take this one step further. So we could make a kind of tape delay, so imitating the sound of a tape delay by giving a little bit of a wobble. Let's do this. Let's add an LFO. And what I'm going to do with this LFO is I'm going to add it to this delay here. So I'm just going to go add. Oops, let's try that again. Add. Triangle plus the delay. Run that into my delay here. Let's start by just making some constants. Constant. And we'll make that constant 0.1. Let's turn up our delay speed a little bit here. Let's make this 2 and see how we do. It's subtle, but can you hear that pitch drift? Let me turn up the frequency here. That is anything but subtle. Let's do this. I'm going to cut that. New macro. Tape effect. Go inside this. Paste it. Let's make some controls. Create control. Create control. Rate. Depth, and then we'll make an output triangle. Go back out. There we go. So now clean up our panel. Lock it down. I'm going to go up here to the control rate and turn this as high as possible. So since I have an LFO, it updates at this control rate. If I have this too low, things will sound crunchy. Let's just try that. So that's just all distortion in there now. Let's set that to 32. Can you hear how that pitch is drifting a little bit? Yeah, 4 is way, way too high for that. Let's go here. Let's set our max range to be like 3, and then our step size to be 0.5. So I'm just changing the properties of this knob to be a bit more even above 2, there's a lot of distortion in there. It's too much low pass. I've got my feedback cranked, right? I'm trying to make these outer spacey effects, but you can always do things that are a little bit more subtle. Too slow. It's more fun to do outer space effects. So there you have it. Sound comes in. It gets added to the feedback, but we'll come back to that later. Goes into the delay. It gets delayed by the delay time plus our time variant controller plus our LFO. That delayed signal goes through a filter and then goes to the output and mix in with the dry signal. In addition to going to that output, that mixer, it goes into the feedback where you have a control and gets mixed back into the signal again after it's been filtered, so it keeps getting mixed back in this feedback loop. Again, if you don't like that pitch drifting, turn down that depth. If you don't like the low pass filter, turn it up. And of course, now that I have the macro, I can cut this and paste it into any ensemble that I want. There are lots and lots of ways to expand on this idea. Give it a shot. Let me know what you come up with.